the computer science. Please come forward, Rick, to share a few words with your colleagues for this honor which you have been given, selected by your colleagues. You can all hear me, right? All right, good. All right, now, I'll explain my hairdo later, but I just had to do something different for this award. But first off, I want to thank you all for those nominating me, the committee that selected me. And for the most part, 5 years ago, when Dr. Geyer, Dr. Ritchie, Dr. Smith, and others decided to take a chance on this goofy guy that has spent 30 years as a computer professional and tried to be an adjunct teacher on the side, it has been a blessing for me to do this. So when I learned how to give a speech, first thing I asked is it at least 2 hours? And they said no. But the thing that came to mind, one thing came to mind every time I thought about this, and that's to talk about my email tagline. Email tagline is to lead with hope and walk with courage. I figured it's the best way for me to explain a little bit who I am, what I try to bestow upon my students. If you really want to hear about all my exciting history as a computer nerd, we can go to lunch. I'm not going to do that here. But as I look at that came out of an exercise I had at my previous employer where managers had to define themselves in 6 words. You know, you have 10 minutes to do this or whatever, but I took it and I kept refining this, and it really felt that reflected who I was. And that tagline has been on my email for the past 10 years. And I want to talk a little bit about each one of those words. I'm not going to talk about with, okay? I think you know what that means. With just a brief insight to me. When I talk about lead, we're talking about leadership. And one of the things that my father always told me was leadership does not come with a title, my son. It is something you are. You get bosses with titles, and then you hope they are a leader. But that stuck with me. In any group I've ever been involved with, I'd always get my boss saying, you know, you just lead. I'm like, that's what my father taught me to do. And that's what I try to get my students to do, to be comfortable, to lead. And as I, years and moved into those leadership roles, eventually they didn't promote me to my level of incompetence, which, you know, if you're a management book thing, that's another whole thing we can talk about. It happens a lot in management. I learned I was focused on being a servant. Servant leadership, I'm not going to get into the whole history of what that is, but I wanted to invest in people. Those were the things that I invested in. Give somebody an opportunity to grow, to learn who they are. And that's the same thing I love about being a teacher. To look at that student and go, you can do this. And they're saying, no, I can't. And then 3 months later, they're like, yeah, I can do this. And what about this? The biggest blessing is when a student comes back to me and teaches me something. Is that not what we're here for? To take them to where we are and to move forward. Don't jump to hope. What does that mean? To lead with hope. Now, I used to work with an ex-Marine logistics officer that would always look at me and go, Rick, hope is not strategy. And I said, yes, you're right. It is not a strategy. But I will tell you, most strategies are accomplished by fueling them with hope. Especially the ones that are hard to see what the outcome is. Where are we going to go with this? How are we going to change this? Hope is that idea of, I don't know how it's going to come out. Believing in the unknown, or believing there's something better than where we are. And that has always been who I am. I want to move. Which leads me into the next part, walking with courage. Now, I don't have to demonstrate what walking is. I think you all get that, right? But it is the idea of walking as action. I'm not going to stand on the sideline. Let's move. Let's do something. I'm one of these weird people that actually like change. I had one of my managers when I was a director at Carnegie point out to me when I left, you're the only person I've ever met that likes change. You're never satisfied with where we are. I hadn't really thought about it, but they're right. If done properly, we should always be wanting to do something different, to become better at what we are. So that idea of I refuse to stand on the sidelines and point out what we've done wrong, or I'll wait to see what happens. I want to be part of let's move, even if it's complete failure. Do we not learn from those? Do we not tell our students that failure is what causes us to grow? I can have a ton of successes, and I probably couldn't list a whole lot of things I learned. I tell you what, anytime I fail, I'll learn a lot. And moving to the last part, courage. As a child, I used to think courage was this person that absolutely had no fear. They could walk into anything without any fear. And over the years, I've learned that isn't what courage is. Courage is moving forward in spite of this fear. And I want to share at least a small personal thing. Let's talk about this. I have been dealing with cancer since 2015, 6 years worth. Actually, 2 different kinds of cancer. One of them is in remission. The other one is in stage 4 right now. It has been under suppression therapy for 2 years. I was told in March it's no longer working. So they don't know what that means. They've given me timelines and so forth, but you know what? I don't know what tomorrow brings. So I'm not worrying about it. And I share that with you to give you the understanding of what I mean about walking with courage is that we don't know. And let me bring it back to something that's personal to all of you. Let's talk about the last couple of years. Reorganizations, restructuring, COVID, a new president, a new what's this year mean? All those things can bring waves of fear to all of us. I don't know what's going to happen. What about this? Are we going to survive? The changing face of academics. But I would ask you, it doesn't matter. Look around the table you're at. You've all sat with people you know, right? For the most part. And a lot of times that's your group that gives you support when you're down. I'd also ask you to look around this room. How many people don't you know? And we're all in this together. And I listened to our president yesterday and all the things he's putting out before us. And many times I'm like, can we do that? I don't know, we haven't tried. But we can do it together if we're willing to talk and look at things differently and realize that we just have to move. Please don't stand on the sideline. So in closing, I would ask you all to think and reflect. Will you join me in leading with hope and walking with courage? Thank you, and God bless you all.
Rick will be receiving $1,500 in a lovely plaque for his office. His name's been engraved on the Teaching Excellence and Campus Leadership Award plaque located on the main floor of the Pope John Paul II Center, and his picture will be hung on the wall near the plaque once again as soon as Colleen loosens the noose. I gotta quit beating that part out loud. Before Rick steps down, I want to say I give a lot of talks to prospective faculty when we're interviewing them. And one thing I always try and get across to them is we're a Catholic Franciscan university. We take that mission very seriously. And I get questions like, what do you teach theology? I tell them, unless you're a theology faculty, I don't expect you to teach theology. What the students want is to learn knowledge, they want to learn skills, but most of all, they want to learn how to live. And I will say, I have never had a colleague that I think who more teaches a student and teaches me how to live than Rick Miller. I love him very much, and I want to thank you for everything. Thank you.